Qayyim rahimahullah coming down to the people, being able to speak the language of the people, one of the things that made him so successful was the amount of visuals he used to employ. And that's something that you find with Imam al-Jawzi, that's something you find with Imam al-Ghazali, that's something you find with Ibn Ata'illah. Like a lot of these scholars that were able to have these powerful sayings that penetrate, they gave you a visual. So this is, I want you to actually entertain this visual as we go through this chapter. So you have something shooting the arrow. So you've got the bow, you've got the arrow. You have the fuel and you have the direction, the destination and that which is shooting. So the heart is what is hosting the arrow, right? What is the quality of the heart that is shooting the arrow, right? The dua will be shot, the dua will go up to the heavens. If it's with very little certainty in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, either certainty in His existence, certainty in His plan, pleasure with His plan, then the arrow will shoot up just like, when you misfire, it'll just shoot and fall after a few feet going up. It's not going to go up there, right? Or is it because there is something that blocks the way, something that stops it actually from even coming out, right? So imagine if you're shooting something, but there's something that's blocking it altogether, so it never even comes out. In fact, it could even harm, right? It could even hit back. Or is it that it's going in the wrong direction and you're not asking for the right thing, you're not shooting in the right place? Quickly, the hadith of Thawban radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that the Prophet said, لا يرد القدر إلا الدعاء ولا يزيد في العمر إلا البر وإن الرجل لا يحرم الرزق بالذنب يصيبه. That nothing changes the decree except for dua. ولا يزيد في العمر, nothing extends a person's life like good deeds, and a person will be forbidden from sustenance because of a sin that they commit. It's a hadith, by the way. The hadith has a weakness in its chain, but the scholars still cite it because the meaning is established, is an authentically established meaning. So the hadith technically is da'if, but it's an established meaning throughout many texts. Yeah.
No.
He says that dua is from the most beneficial of medicines. And then he mentions that it is adu al-bala. So it's the enemy of trial. It does away with trial. يَدْفَعُهُ وَيُعَالِجُهُ وَيَمْنَعُ نُزُولَهُ. Right? It fights it, it pushes it away, it stops it from coming in the first place sometimes. وَيَرْفَعُهُ. And it alleviates it from you. أَوْ يُخَفِّفُهُ. Or sometimes it lightens the burden of the trial. إِذَا نَزَلَ. وَهُوَ سِلَاحُ الْمُؤْمِنِ. And it is the weapon of the believer. And he mentions the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in Al-Hakim, الدعاء سلاح المؤمن وعماد الدين ونور السماوات والأرض. Right? So it's the weapon of the believer, it is the foundation of the religion, it is the light of the heavens and the earth. And then he says, لِلدُّعَاءِ مَعَ الْبَلَاءِ مَقَامَاتِ. But there are stations of your dua with your trial. Now, when you think about a disease and its cure, okay, some medicines cure you altogether, some medicines heal you partially, some of them deal with the symptoms, right? And some of them fail altogether, right? And a lot of times that depends on the state of the body physically, right? The receiver, right? It's not necessarily the potency of the medicine, it's about the receiver. So he mentions these three stages of dua and bala. He says, أحدها, that one of the reasons, أن يكون أقوى من البلاء, that the dua is stronger than the trial, and so it does away with it. Then the second one he mentions, that it is weaker than the trial. The dua is weaker than the trial. فيصاب به العبد ولكن قد يخففه وإن كان ضعيفا. But perhaps the dua lightens the pain of that trial, even if it doesn't remove it altogether. And then the third one he mentions is that the dua and the trial basically offset one another, and nothing comes out of it. Shaykh Hatim al-Hajj, hafidhullah, put it beautifully one time. He said, Allah is always capable and willing. And you never find those two qualities in a human being, that they're both always capable and always willing to help you. Allah is always both capable and willing. That was his sharh of Mukhtasar Minhaj al-Qasidin. So the hadith, whoever does not ask Allah, Allah becomes angry with them. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, لا تعجزوا في الدعاء فإنه لا يهلك مع الدعاء أحد. Do not become incapable with your dua, because no one becomes destroyed as a result of their making dua, or bad things don't come to a person as a result of their making dua. And then he mentions another narration from Al-Awza'i عن الزهري عن عروة عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله يحب الملحين في الدعاء. That verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those people who again insist on their dua. And then finally, a visual. I love this visual. Subhanallah. Again, وفي كتاب الزهد للإمام أحمد رضي الله تعالى عنه عن قتادة قال مورق رضي الله تعالى عنه ما وجدت للمؤمن مثلا إلا رجل في البحر على خشبة فهو يدعو يا رب يا رب لعل الله عز وجل أن ينجيه. He said that I have not found an example that describes the affair of the believer more than this person. So he said a person, رجل في البحر على خشبة. Imagine that you're in an ocean and you found a piece of wood and you're holding on to that wood and you're calling out, Ya Rab, my Lord, knowing that it's only your Lord who can save you. So this is the constant state of the believer, that this dunya is like an ocean that you can drown in, and you're holding on to that piece of wood, and you don't stop saying, Ya Rab, oh my Lord, while still doing the things that are necessary to survive drowning in this dunya.